Oh, Bonnie, it is a delight to be back with you again after 7 months, Bonnie. I don't know,
Yes, yes,
7 months
yes,
since we've seen each other.
yes, yes. We're having a wild reunion just on the video, but it's late. You're 3 hours ahead of me. It is goodness. It's 9:30 for you, so we've just got to start. Everybody, fasten your seatbelt. Stephen is back. We have, here in the Northwest, we have all the volcanoes here are filling with magma, all of them. We are ready to slip into the ocean. Rainier, Adams, Baker, St. Helens, Hood, Crater Lake, Mammoth is constantly shaking. The magma is rising in Mammoth. We have a financial reset. We have digital currency soon. The globalists are asking the Bank of England, are they ready to go into negative interest rates? Everything is coming uh, to one place here, and the globalists, I think, are ready to make their final play. With that being said, Stephen, let's go where you want to go.
Oh, wow, Bonnie, you actually set a beautiful, beautiful stage already. And one thing I can share with people that I think will be really a blessing, and that is what you're talking about, all the movement that is going on the planet right now is absolutely correct. I mean, we're seeing it. There's one video, I actually have it up on the screen on my channel here right now, Dutch Sense. Good friend of mine, Johnny Brown, had sent this to me originally, I guess, or showed me about this guy, how he's always following these earthquakes and the movements
Yes,
and things. And I'll tell you, Bonnie, the guy is so accurate. But
yes, he is.
what's really alarming, though, is that I had recently uh, have been contacted by sources that I have in the Pentagon as well as in FEMA. And I have a good friend of mine. He's an engineer with FEMA. And so he's got a very, very well informed source as well, deeper in the government. But FEMA, I'll start off with this. FEMA has been fully activated. They're setting up. They have had meetings recently discussing. Let me stop just for a moment, Bonnie. Let me say one thing. The sources that I do have are all believers. And even though they may not agree with what's going on in their respective branches of the government, they want people to know what's going on. And I feel I need to say that, Bonnie, because sometimes people think, oh my gosh, FEMA, oh, the crooked, horrible FEMA. Well, the people I know this. They know that, but there's some people in there that are good people that they know what's going on. And so they're willing to share and expose the things that are happening.
I'm
So,
sure they might be staying there so they can tell people.
and that may be the case as well, Bonnie. I know the engineer I know really has been a wealth of information. And what's very unique is the information normally just dovetails right there with the information that I get from people in the Pentagon. And I've got
Yeah.
multiple sources through the Pentagon. So some of the things I'm going to be saying tonight, I may not be able to say where it's from because it's that sensitive of information in some cases. But this is all dealing with what's going on. The earth is shifting, and it is literally being caused from the fact that the earth is absorbing a tremendous amount of energy. I'll go into that a little bit later, but let me first back up to the FEMA engineer that I'm a good friend with. He clearly told me that they've activated FEMA. They're expecting a massive. The way he said it to me, they are being told and prepared, and they brought in the high-ranking people in FEMA reconfirming their commitment to what they do. They said because they're about to face a catastrophic, as they call it, weather or earth-related event that will bring about a mass loss of life.
Do you think that is the what's happening subterranean? I know that this planetary system, this Planet X system, is exuding tremendous amounts of UV, gamma, X-ray, electromagnetic, all kinds of radiation, and we're absorbing it through our poles.
Well,
so
it's all right. Yeah. You're really on a great line with all this, Bonnie, and what you're saying there. So let me kind of break down, and then I'll come back to my FEMA source in a little bit. Some of the things I'm going to say now, I can't say how I know these things, and it's mainly I have to say this because I have to protect certain individuals because the information that is shared with me. And maybe it wouldn't matter in this case if I said what agency they're with, but I feel like maybe I shouldn't at this point here.
Sure.
I've known now for some time. I mean, it was revealed to me back in March that it was shared then, and I still have the email. Most of the information that I deal with, though, is done through secure means. We don't speak through emails. We don't speak through telephones. We use secure communications to where it cannot be traced or listened to. But back in March, I was told we're going to see a lot of catastrophic events that are going to happen, mostly with weather-related events. I was told then that there would be storms across Northwest that would be with winds of excess of 100 miles an hour. I was specifically told Nebraska would be one of those states where these winds would be that great. Since all this, we've seen two what they call derecho storms. Both storms had over 100 mile an hour winds. I think the first one was 110. The second one, 100 miles an hour. One point that 140 mile an hour gust. And in the second storm, I know there were 40 tractor trailers overturned, and I forget even much higher number of tractor trailers were overturned from those storms there. Then I was also told at that time that we're going to see hurricanes. We would have record-breaking season, a very unusual amount of number of hurricanes. That has also been another thing that we have actually watched come to pass. But then I was told that come September, the world would know that we are in serious trouble. But I was also told, though, that the storms would really begin to see the uptick on that in sometime between June and July. One thing I did notice, though, is that the source that I had to give me this information, he was off about a month or two on all the information. So I've been seeing everything has been coming like a month or 2 months later. He spoke about asteroids, but he never said that the asteroids would be what would be the big issue come September, that we're in big trouble. But at any rate, what has happened, though, even in September and stuff, because I did go back and because both my FEMA source and two sources I had in the Pentagon were confirming that, we're going to see rocks coming in on the Earth. But in clarification with all of them, they have gone back and they spoke about that and said that you have to remember in the beginning it's just small. And even then, it's not like there is a lot, but over the course of the next 2 years, they would increase more and more. And what's interesting is on September 30th, we had one that was caught on camera up in Chicago area. Then another one came in the following day that was caught on camera, pretty good size one. Then I got an email, somebody sent me one from Mexico. And my wife and daughter coming in, and as well my son, they were all out this evening. They saw one as they came into the house here in Orlando. Yeah. So, he said they're all small right now. He said most of them are just going to burn up in the atmosphere. So that's not that big of a deal. But here comes the problem, Bonnie. Of course, I was also told back then we were going to start seeing earthquakes and volcanoes as well going off, things like you've never seen before. All right. Now, here we are. It's October. It's a month later than what he told me, but people are starting to realize we're in serious trouble. But now I want to explain what's really going on. This is what people don't understand. There's a reason for all these events happening. And you mentioned it a moment ago, talking about the poles and stuff. But the way it was explained to me, the Earth is absorbing a tremendous amount of energy. And there's two places that energy is coming from. It's coming from the solar minimum is one. And the other one is it's coming from what they call a debris cloud. And the debris cloud is emitting a tremendous amount of radiation. I was told that we entered into that cloud in June of this year. I think June 15th or June 20th. I forget which date it was. That they said we entered into that cloud. And you have to understand, the one source that explained what I'm about to tell you now is a scientist. And he also works for the government. And I'm dealing with two different, I'm going to kind of put this together from two different aspects, because I know two different aspects of this, of the scientists that are involved. Scientists, engineers, etc. But what I was that was told to me last night is reminding me about how the earth is absorbing all this energy. And so what happens is, because of the absorption of this tremendous amount of energy, it's heating the core of the earth up. And I even said this back in March. I told people back in March that this events were happening then. The earth can't handle that much pressure, though. And because of that energy that's being absorbed, and our oceans are able to absorb a lot of the energy in itself, it's come to a boiling point. And what's happening is now the crust of the earth is beginning to move. The government is going into an emergency state right now, but it's not being told to the people. Back in March, Bonnie, back in February, I was told that things are going to really escalate. They didn't know at that time when. I was told back in January, could be anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half. And I was told at that time as well, when things get really bad, the government is going to do a 2-week internal notice, but the American people would only get about a 24 to 48 hour window of knowing what's going to really happen. But I also was told that it would more than likely be leaked out before that time. So what I'm about to tell you, I don't know if I can say this is that leaking information. I don't think it's the big thing. I think this is just the beginning. But as I was told, right now, the government is like in an emergency state right now because of all the shifting going on. We have the what do they call that? The one up there by you, Bonnie, that's called the
Rainier?
No, Cascadia. Cascadia is shifting. The New Madrid is shifting. Last night, and normally we don't correspond by email, but I got an email and I was told that now everything has come to life as well in Indonesia, Japan, the Philippines. All the crust there is shifting as well. Now, I was told, though, because of the fact so much of the Earth's crust is shifting and moving, it would help to displace the magnitude of a monster earthquake. So that's a good thing in a way, but it's not going to be what's going to be the worst. I was told there is a 70%, right now the government is anticipating 70% or greater probability of a massive earthquake as a result of what's going on with everything shifting the way it is. And it's going to just catch everybody off guard. Both sources that I know in the Pentagon as well as in Fema and FEMA sources, and I'm not sure where their source is from, but they're looking at it could be weeks and even months before this major event takes place as far as the earthquake. Now, I've not been told that the New Madrid is going to literally crack and separate the earth as far as like what we see like in John Moore's map that he released years ago, but that we could see some very massive quakes. But the big problem was, Bonnie, is that as the shifting is going on, one of the biggest things that's going to happen is the earth is going to release the energy that it is built up from all the radiation and stuff that it's being bombarded with, and it will release it up into the ionosphere. Now, that's where the situation gets very bad. The ionosphere has got thin spots in it, and that energy will go towards, it will gravitate towards the thinner layers of the ionosphere. And as I was told, the ionosphere then it will kind of thicken itself up to protect itself. But then what it will do at that point there is that it will release the energy in the form of plasma lightning back to the Earth. But as it was explained to me by the scientists that wrote these details to me, this plasma lightning is not millions of volts of electricity, but in the trillions of volts. In other words, as it was said to me, that discharge of plasma lightning will be so massive that it could literally knock a hole into the Earth's crust and go clear to the mantle. That's how dangerous it is.
Wow.
Now,
do you see anything in Revelation that mimics that?
It's funny you say that. I've been thinking of these things, but I've been so caught up in everything that's going on, I haven't actually gone and really
checked out Revelation.
Exactly.
Of course, we have the thunders, which Yeshua told John not to write them. So there's a whole set of stuff there that, we're not being told. I think it's because, we've already been taken to the safe place, prepared for her for 3.5 years in the desert. But do you think that this debris cloud could be part and parcel of the incoming planetary system, Planet X? Because that also is magnetically charged. And as it came through the debris field, it attracted all kinds of, asteroids, both before and after it. So could it be related to that? I mean, you can look up in the sky and see that there are things around the sun that never used to be there.
Yeah, well,
is that part?
All right, here's what's interesting. I know Scott Sion has, and Scott, I got a chance to meet with Scott, talk to him. We had him on our program, and Scott has been showing what he believes to be Planet X caught into the orbit of the sun, and he believes it already came in. And so I wanted to be able to share his information with our audience as well on Israeli News Live. But when I talked to the folks there at the Pentagon about that, they said as much as they appreciate the scientific background of his wife and things, they believe that he is misinformed. And they said that Planet X is coming. And for the first time, I actually was given a more definitive time frame of when Planet X would come through. And that, yes, the debris field that we are seeing, Bonnie, right now is part of the Planet X system. As it was described to me, you have to imagine the Planet X system kind of like a hurricane. They said if you think of it in relations to a hurricane, it's got outer bands, inner bands, and then finally into the center where the core of that is. I was told that the planet itself and its constellation that's coming through our solar system is about a little over 2 years away. But when it comes through, that will be when we really see, like what we're seeing now is really nothing. But when that comes through, I was told the Earth would literally flip. That's how powerful the gravitational pull of this iron core is. And too, Bonnie, I mean, a lot of the flat Earth community is really not happy with me about some of the things I've been reporting on, because they don't believe in these things. They don't believe in asteroids and meteorites and things like that. And, so I've been hammered by
the trumpets are asteroids.
Oh, there you go.
A mountain out of the sky?
Exactly. And this was my whole point. Biblically, we have Revelation, what is it, 16, I believe? We see that we have stones the weight of a talent and stuff. You got the trumpets. You got, all these things.
That's right. It opens the abyss. It pounds through the mantle and opens the abyss underneath and releases the demon. So, I think you should just turn a deaf ear. I think you just turn a deaf ear to them.
Well, I tell you, Bonnie, one thing that was really interesting, because my heart goes out to anybody that would be caught off guard. And I remember saying, because somebody had made a comment one day and they said, Well, if anything, it's just part of the firmament breaking apart and falling down. So I went on the air and I said, look, if that makes you feel fuzzy inside and makes you feel better about it, then whatever it will do to help you to think about what I'm saying and get your life in order and be prayed up and ready for the Lord, then okay. Right. I don't care. If you think it's the firmament breaking apart and falling down and that's what's causing it, okay with me. Don't make any difference. It's just I care about humanity and I don't want to see people, right. not ready when his timing is for his return. So that's why I kind of get going with that. But at any rate, yes. So we are looking at a couple of years still out for that, but we are seeing the outer effects already, and all these underground bunkers that have been built, Bonnie. I've been told yes. They are now concerned of their own survivability, and they because everything's heating up. They said they don't even know if their cooling systems could keep because normally when you're in the earth, you got that constant temperature. Well, the temperature's rising now. So there's a lot of fear. And of course, we know what the Bible says about that. They'd be in the earth and they'd cry for the mountains and rocks to fall upon them. Hide us from him that is to come. So I thank God for what's coming. I feel like it's judgment on all the wickedness that's happening here on the earth. So, absolutely. So it's a good thing as well. And so that's kind of interesting. But going back to the things, though, that I want to share with people some more deeper things because I know, Bonnie, sometimes everybody's like, oh my gosh, Steve, it's just all gloom and doom. And, and what happened to you? I guess, Bonnie, the thing is you just want people's lives in order.
That's right. You want them to be saved.
Yes.
Yeshua's sacrifice was so precious. Don't waste it, everybody.
That's right.
And if we don't say what we know, then the blood might be on our hands. So
exactly.
Hey, speak away, brother.
That's exactly right. And I think to myself, look, I mean, you read Matthew 24, and Jesus tells you that there's going to be earthquakes in diverse places. There's going to be famines, wars, and rumors of wars. And I mean, everything is like a doom and gloom of what's coming. I mean, he even goes on to say it'll be like it was in the days of Enoch. That's
right. Days of Noah. It's going to be evil continually. Stuff is falling from the sky.
That's
but
right.
We get to see the face of our Redeemer. That is so happy.
Yes. Amen. So that's my purpose, I guess, is, because in reality, there is no safe place you can go except in Jesus Christ. In Yeshua is the only place you're going to be safe. You're not going to be safe. I chose to go to Tennessee, and it had to do with not because of asteroids or anything. I wanted to go to Tennessee and get relocated there because I didn't like the COVID garbage going on. And the possible forced, if they're planning on forcing vaccinations and stuff. This was our initial purpose for getting out of Dodge here. And of course, just being as remote as you could get. All right, but getting back on track. I want to get back on track with this. Because of everything going on and the information that was shared with me, I made a phone call last night to try to get some clarification from another scientific perspective, because we're talking about plasma lightning. And so I knew an individual that I could speak to that would know just how serious this is and what we're facing. And so as I begin to look at that, I said to myself, all right, I'm going to call this individual here. We got on the phone and we began to discuss the information that I had that I was aware of. And I don't know, Bonnie, we may need to catch this on the other side. Are we getting
on the other side?
Are we getting close to our time?
All right, we're at 24, 48, 49, 50. There we go. All right, stay with us, folks, please, and see us on the other side. Welcome back, everyone, for the second half. Okay, we were on the verge of getting some really good information, Stephen. So, yeah,
Yes.
please continue.
All right, so we'll get back into this right here. So, and I'm a little bit slow on presenting this one here because I've got to be very cautious in what I say, because now we're going to be getting into some very, very sensitive areas here. So I wanted to understand from an engineer friend of mine this issue when it comes to the plasma, and of course, I don't know if there's any images. I even have like an image on my screen right now, just shows lightning and stuff. I don't think there is any good image that tells you what plasma bolt will look like coming down out of the sky. I wouldn't want to see it either. But I said, is there any way to protect against something like this? I mean, lightning strikes. I know they make different gadgets that help protect against lightning. Even electromagnetic pulse. You can get a device that'll protect your home and things from that. But what about plasma lightning? Because we're talking, literally, as I was told, trillions of volts. And this particular friend of mine, who's an engineer, shared with me that right now, some other top engineers in the Pentagon were working on that particular type of device. And I said, no way. And he told me, he said, I know, Steve, it sounds crazy. He said, in fact, I had no idea why. I just know that we've been involved in building some particular devices, and we were also working with some outsourcing from the Pentagon with some other engineers who have the brilliant minds to be able to protect against something that he said, and what was really weird, he said it didn't make any sense to me. Why would we be working on something that could withstand the massive electrical discharge is what we were working on. But it was to protect this specific base. I can't discuss that, what base it is, but there's certain assets in the government that they needed to protect that had more precedence than any other places in the government. And when I explained to him what I knew, that in fact, I guess if he went down the hallway, maybe he would know who I'm talking about, but I never disclosed from one to the other who's who. That they were talking about the Earth absorbing all this tremendous energy, and that it's going to be released into the ionosphere and then end up coming back and hitting the Earth with trillions of volts of electricity called plasma lightning. And of course, then it's like the lights went off in his head. He's like, that's it. That's why we're doing it. He said, the funny thing is, he said, not everybody shares with the next person what you're doing it for, but he said, that's what we were developing, is to be able to handle that type of voltage. So he said, in short, for the public, no. He said, I'll have to tell you, Steve, he said, what would happen under a plasma strike is that, for example, if it struck from me about a half mile down the road, my house would be nothing but glass. He said everything would melt instantly from that type of lightning strike. He said it takes a huge radius. And he said, yes, I do. And I have heard that it would bust the earth open wide. And he said there's no telling what that will cause as well. And being that on that note there, Bonnie, I know this all got kind of started too, by the way, for me, because I know that Adam on Marfugal News, he had posted on Twitter about Chinese troops up he had posted about U.S. troops being moved out west. And that they were told that they were going to be in part of a drill, but the troops that he knew about were saying to him, no, it's not a drill. We feel like this is really for real, but they weren't being told what they're facing with. And that's how I got into this whole issue about what's going on, because I reached out to some friends that I knew in the Pentagon and I asked them, is it true we're moving troops out west? And they said, yes, it is. And I said, Is it because we got the Chinese on the northern border side? And I was told at that point there, not directly. It was actually because they are anticipating catastrophic events that are going to happen to the United States. Now, as a result, though, Bonnie, and as a result of what's about to happen in November, there is a strong possibility that we're going to be invaded not long thereafter. And when I say not long thereafter, that may be months. It may be longer. And it has been confirmed to me as well. There is a tremendous, and this is from the Fema side of things, there is, and that's not through Fema itself, but through my Fema source, it has also inside information that's kind of like with mine, it goes pretty high up, that there's a great concern of war breaking out between the U.S. and other nations, i.e. China. And you have to understand, this is what's going to be very disconcerting for a lot of people. China and Israel are working very closely together.
Well, doesn't Israel want to bring this country down?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do, Bonnie. And that's what's really sad.
There are thousands of troops on Vancouver Island. Canadians are posting videos online.
Yes. That's very sad. And another thing, too, this is going to shock a lot of people. I had been told quite some time now that Israel is getting ready to reveal her Messiah. And you have to understand, Bonnie, in the Jewish belief, it's not like what a believer, a Christian is. We know, for example, the son of David, which we all know is Yeshua. We know it's Jesus Christ. We know he's the Messiah. In Jewish belief, and they really take this from the idea of Daniel, because they see that the Messiah is to be cut off. So they know that he has to die. So they believe in what they call two Messiahs. There's the Josephic Messiah, as they call it, and the Davidic Messiah. So it's Mashiach ben David and Mashiach ben Yosef. Mashiach ben Yosef, in their mind, is a anointed individual that fights Israel's battles, defeats the evil foes of Israel, i.e., in this case, Iran, but will also hand them the third temple. There has been several rabbis that have suggested that Donald Trump is a very good candidate for that. As they've also pointed out in the Gematria, his name is the same value as Mashiach. I used to think that was kind of far-fetched. And I know that the Israeli government just released a documentary where there's a man, his name is Israel David Cohen, who's currently a psychiatric patient. He was actually a former commander in the Israeli Navy, and he's proclaiming to be the Messiah of Israel.
He's a former psychiatric patient?
He's still a psychiatric patient.
Suicide. I see.
So, and he claims, that, he said, I hear voices, but he said, the voices have told me that I am the King Messiah of Israel. Mm. But then I discovered something, Bonnie, that was very troubling. And it's part of what we have been hearing for a long time, that there was some people speculating that Trump converted to Judaism back in 2017.
Yeah.
Well, I found out that is true.
Yeah.
Trump is not a Christian. Trump did convert to Judaism.
And that's why he can abide NAR. But he has a grandparent heritage in Judaism or Jewish people, doesn't he?
He does, and they have done a lot of extensive research on him, and they believe that he comes from the lost tribes of Israel, going back on his side. I don't know if it's paternal or father or whatever, but in Scotland. So
he could easily be Messiah ben Yosef.
This is exactly what I think that they're grooming him for. And of course,
so when he's making the Abrahamic Accord, he is the Messiah of Daniel 9?
I think that's the way they're going to put him. This is them playing out the script for the world. The big part is going to be when he delivers Iran for them and also delivers the building of the third temple.
And when when they pretend he is shot on the world screen and they secret him away, as you have said, and then he reappears, is that the wound that is healed?
That's a good question. And I don't know exactly how they will fake his departing. I have been told that they're going to make it look like something happens to him and that he will reemerge later down the road.
There are Christians that have had dreams that they see it on the television set. It's horrible. He's on stage giving a speech and he is shot. I mean, how traumatizing for the people.
Sure it would be.
But that's what they want to do. Look at 9/11. That was all for trauma. And they played it again and again and again for a week. Like, oh, you didn't see it the first 25 times? Well, we'll play it another 25 times. Steve, that's really bizarre.
It is. And the thing is that it's not only that, look when he went into the hospital and he was declared to be COVID positive.
Yeah.
All right. My own doctor calls me up and he's like, this has got to be the biggest hoax I've ever saw.
Yep.
He said, for one, he said, he's asymptomatic. Mm-hmm. He said, okay, they claim he's COVID positive. He said, he's not showing any problems. He said, why would you whisk the man away to the hospital when he's got perfectly good staff, medical staff at the White House? He said, no telling what they're going to pump into him. And then
we think he's taken something like a chip or something?
They give him, he talked about he had this miracle drug, had to be from God. Well, I just happened to listen to a video today, and I didn't get to finish the full video as of yet, but it's actually called Trump's Gift of Human Fetal and Mouse BLT by, and I don't even know who the guys, I don't know the guy that actually put the video out, but I was listening to it, and he gives a complete breakdown of what was in this concoction that he's given, and it does include human fetal tissue, some type of mouse that has been changed over into something else. It's like a genetically modified mouse, and this is what they're pumping into the president.
Is it injected? Was it injected?
I don't know if it's injected, pill form, or whatever. I have not seen that part yet. I do know, though, that my own doctor said that after this happened with the president, and he said he came back to the White House and he goes up the steps, he said if he had COVID, he said coronavirus, of course, he'll tell you coronavirus has been around for years. It's not some novel virus. But he did say if he had it, it's respiratory. He said he wouldn't be going up the steps to the White House like that with no problem. He'd be struggling to catch his breath.
Yeah, and he'd be trying to recuperate from the assault on his body.
Exactly. And then the other thing, Bonnie, that he was really troubled about, this is my doctor, he said, Stephen, he said, then they're telling us, they're telling the American public, half of his administration is positive. And then the next thing you know, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, so many of them are testing positive. Yeah. He said, wait a minute. He said, do they think that doctors are just that stupid to believe what they're telling? He said, maybe the American public doesn't understand viruses. He said, but viruses take time to go from one individual to another. It's not like you're going to test the entire staff and everybody tests positive. He said, yeah, the president could be positive, but then maybe a week later, another one's positive. Another week later, another one's positive. Or you might even get 2 or 3 after a week or so, or 2 weeks or so, but not like this. He said, I'm a doctor, Steve. He said, I'm not here to say that corona is not real. I'm just simply saying this is something is up. And I know that for a fact. So,
but the doctors, they try and put videos up on YouTube to tell the populace. They get taken down, they get banned, they get strikes, they get removed. So, unless your own personal physician is, on his toes, because certainly not all the doctors are out there saying that this is a hoax. I just rolled my eyes when I heard it. there's no platform except they go to, Brighteon or Patreon or something like that.
Exactly, Bonnie. And then, like you said, when it comes to, to speak about these things and to say, YouTube, we've had 2 strikes already. Yana's had 2 strikes on her channel. One more strike and boom, we're off the air.
Yep, that's right.
And they're looking to do that.
Yeah, sure.
They don't want the truth out there.
Well, you have to come to HNR here.
That's exactly right.
We'll get the truth out.
Yes.
We haven't been found yet, I pray.
Well, that's just a godsend is what it is, Bonnie.
Yes,
because
that's right. We can warn people.